All right, y'all. We are getting ready to dive into a 4-part series on sales, and I will be straight up and super transparent. This is a word that I resisted in this industry for years. I truly made it to a jewel level believing that I wasn't even in sales. It was an icky word to me. It conjured up all sorts of feelings and visuals for me of icky car salesmen, of door-to-door salesmen, of pressure. I had a lot of preconceived notions about that word, and I was truly in denial for years that we are even in the sales industry. So as we kind of start this, I want to challenge you to start thinking differently about sales and really embrace the idea that we are in sales, so that number one, we better learn to be good at it if we're going to embrace this idea. And number two, embrace the idea of sales as service if we approach it with the right heart. We are in a company that I believe really lends itself to a service model. And the sooner that we lean into that and embrace it, the more successful we will be with this. Really, at the end of the day, we are selling people on how we can serve their needs. And in Plexus, that looks like health, financial needs, community desires. But really, this goes so much deeper than just our business. Y'all, we are always selling the people around us on something. We are selling our kids on what to eat for dinner and when to go to bed. We're selling our husband on the vacation spot for this summer. There is always an element of wanting to persuade the people around us for good. Sales skills really are life skills. And if you've plugged into any guide culture, you've heard that over and over again. If you plugged into our book study a few months ago that we did with guide culture, that is a phrase that we heard over and over again. And if you're new and you're watching this on a replay, I highly encourage you to plug into guide culture on Instagram. They have a podcast, they have a book, they have amazing resources, tons of free value in this area. A lot of this training that we're going to do over the next couple of weeks comes directly from their paid sales course that I've taken. I know Kim has taken it too, and I have learned so much from. So this is coming directly from them, but they also offer a ton of free value on all of their platforms. So I want to challenge you up front to just go all in on this idea of sales and owning that title, because these skills really have the power to change the way you listen and communicate and serve other people. You know, the more I've really dived into this, let somebody in. The more I've really dived into this, I've realized that sales skills are one of those hidden things that can either create a huge amount of confidence or they can create self-limiting beliefs that maybe we aren't even aware that we have. I feel like lack of these skills can keep us from having conversations. They can keep us from showing up. They can keep us from unlocking our potential because we're inwardly insecure in our ability to communicate what we're selling. It's that fear of failure and uncertainty around what you're going to say. How many of y'all, just drop an emoji or drop something in the chat if you have found yourself in a position where you're nervous to get on the phone with somebody because you're scared of what they might ask you, or you're not sure what you're going to say, or you aren't confident in how to talk to somebody about Plexus or how to share the opportunity? I see lots of hands going up. And so what we end up doing is self-sabotaging and avoid posting altogether or avoid having those in-person conversations, right? I want to encourage you that if you can get this right, if you can learn these skills, it will radically change the way that you show up. It will change your confidence level and how you empower the people around you. So let's agree right now that we are all going to buy in. We're going all in on this idea that sales skills are life skills and they really are essential. Okay, does that sound good? All right, there's 3 things that we're going to be building on over the next couple of weeks. One of the first things that we are going to really hit hard on is credibility. And by definition, that is the quality of being trusted and believed in. Now, if you've been in network marketing, if you've even been on our team, likely you've heard the phrase like, know, and trust. That in order to sell, we need to be liked, we need to be known, and we need to be trusted. Has anybody else, have y'all heard that before? Y'all have heard, we've been in this circle long enough that we've all heard that. And while there is truth to that, I think we also have to be careful to understand the difference between being liked and even trusted and being credible. You know, there are a lot of people that I like, know, and trust to keep my children, but maybe not to paint my house, or maybe not to come landscape my yard, or maybe not to help me financially plan, or even recommend a health supplement to me. If they have not built credibility in that specific area, I'm probably going to go to somebody else, because ultimately I want to know that I'm going to get something out of it, that I'm going to get my money's worth. And if they haven't proven to me that they can serve me in that specific area, I'm going to go somewhere else, because people are always thinking, and we're going to dig into this a little bit more in a minute, what is the benefit for me? What's in it for me? And being liked as a friend is not the same as having credibility in your business. So there is a way to have both. But as we start, I want you to make sure that you don't mistake likability with credibility. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert. Do not hear me say that you need to be an expert, but you do need to build credibility and consistency in what you're selling. We're going to unpack that a little bit more over the coming weeks, but I want you to be thinking about that and just become aware of whether or not you're presenting yourself as a credible health and wellness advocate. And just get really honest with yourself. This is the time for you to kind of do an audit of your business, an audit of how you're sharing, an audit of how you're having conversations with people. Are you living and demonstrating a healthy lifestyle? Are you showing up on social and consistently sharing? Is your storefront open in that regard? Are you connecting people to resources that can help them? And again, you don't need to be a billboard for CrossFit to be credible in the wellness industry, but you do need to show up, tell your story, and be knowledgeable to point people in the right direction. And that's going to look differently for each of us. My sister-in-law actually just started sharing Plexus, and she actually is the billboard child for CrossFit. She runs a nutrition business. She's the founder and owner of a nutritional business. She has all sorts of certifications. She actually enters into CrossFit competitions. She is so legit and has, to me, she has instant credibility built in around that coming into this. I feel like I have credibility in a completely different way in the area of simplifying wellness. We share in a completely different way. I'm a busy mom who hasn't entered a gym in 3 years. I go on walks every day, and I'm painting a different picture of holistic and mental and physical health. Both are valuable. Both are credible. They both speak to different groups of people, though. So we need to know who we're speaking to and get consistent and start building that credibility with those people. Her market is going to be largely her nutrition clients and people that kind of run in that circle. Mine are going to be busy moms who are holding on by a thread. Different niches, but both have credibility. So we're gonna unpack that a little bit more in the coming weeks. The second thing that we're going to be building up over the next couple of weeks is the value of your verbal and your nonverbal communication. As much as we are going to talk about verbiage and what to say, and we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to do some verbatims. I'm going to give you language on how to speak to people. As much as we're going to talk about that verbiage and what to say, we're also going to need to know that the actual words that we say is not everything that people hear. The actual words that we say are actually only 7% of what people receive from us. And I'm going to repeat that because it is worth repeating. The actual physical words that we say are only 7% of what people receive from you. That means that 93% of our communication is how we communicate it. That's our body language. That's our tone. That's our engagement level, our curiosity of the other person, our enthusiasm, our ability to speak and then close our mouth and listen to what the other person has to say. That is 93% of how we communicate with other people. So we're going to lock in on the words, and we're going to lock in on some scripts and some verbatims. But something I want you to keep in mind from here on out is how you listen and interact with people is essential for making a connection. One of my favorite quotes, I had this on my board when I taught school, is that people won't always remember what you said. They will always remember how you made them feel. This should be our driver in all of our relationships and conversations. And when you have a conversation with somebody, I want you to start asking yourself, this was in one of our book clubs that we did recently, Kelly, I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Slight Edge. But I want you to get in the habit of asking yourself, did I leave them better or worse than when I found them? It's scientifically proven that there are no neutral interactions. We either leave someone slightly better or we leave them slightly worse. So start asking yourself, how am I showing up? How am I serving this person in a way that makes them feel seen and heard? That's going to be our filter from here on out, and one of the things that we'll be building on in the next couple of weeks. And then just the third thing is that as we dive into this, I want to encourage you to just commit to the process. Practice the verbiage that we're going to talk about. Use your tools. I'm going to ask you and challenge you to leave voice messages to yourself and master your words and how you say them. and go back and listen and focus on this verbal and nonverbal communication. A lot of times we feel like we're nailing our communication, but if you go back and you listen to yourself on a replay, or you go back and you watch that video, you don't sound half as happy, peppy, or passionate as you thought you did. Has anybody ever done that? You went back and listened to a voice message and you're like, I sounded half asleep. We really have to practice those nonverbal cues. So just kind of embrace this process, allow this to seep into your subconscious so that the parts that we're going to practice become so second nature that we don't even have to think about it, that it just kind of becomes automatic on how to speak and communicate with people. So commit to the process, commit to practicing, and I promise this will serve you well. All right. So we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty and some of the verbiage of what this actually looks like. Let me check the chat before we go any further. If y'all have any questions along the way, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We will do like a little Q&A at the end. But we're going to go in and, like I said, dive into the nitty-gritty and some of the verbiage of what this actually looks like. I'm going to send this next part to you guys in a PDF. So this is going to be a lot of information. Okay, so take a deep breath, hang with me. You're getting all this in a PDF, so you'll be able to print it off and you'll have it in front of you. So before we kind of get into the verbatim, I want to talk about how people make decisions. Okay, all people make decisions in the following way. This is scientifically proven. This is just dead fact. We decide emotionally if we can justify it logically, if credibility is present. Okay, so we decide emotionally. We're emotional creatures. We're always following our feelings if we can justify it with logic, if credibility is present. And there's that word credibility that we're going to keep coming back to. So let's just kind of look at each one of those and what drives people to purchase, or what drives people to make a decision. The first one and the strongest one is their emotional motive. This is our strongest piece of decision making. Our human nature is always feeling. And I feel like women even more so, right? Which means we really need to understand how to sell the true value and emotion, not just facts. Okay. Real estate agents are not selling a house. They're selling memories that are going to be made in that house. They aren't selling the neighborhood. They are selling the kids' experience in that #1 school district. We are not selling gut health. We're selling the emotion attached to what gut health can do for somebody. We aren't selling weight loss. We are selling the feeling of being more confident in shorts playing with your kid at the park. Okay. We get to uncover, that's the really cool part about our job, is that we get to uncover the heart of what people really want. And that is their emotional motive. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is how do we get to the heart of that? And then how do we show somebody that Plexus is the answer to what they truly want? The second piece of that is logical. And that just means that it appeals to logic. If I were to build a case for this, what would the evidence be? If we're selling that feeling of the mom playing with her kids in the park, can I back it up with evidence, or am I just blowing smoke? Okay. This is critical because, and one of the things that I think makes our company and our products really unique is because, like, we have all the scientific evidence to back this up. We're not just making claims. We have products that work. So this logical piece, we're going to find the value for that person, but then we're going to come in and we're going to show them why it makes sense for them to follow their emotion on this. Can I prove that the school district is actually #1? Can we prove that active can give more energy to be more present with your kids? Okay, we absolutely can. We're not going to lead with logic, but we better be ready to back it up, because people will not buy without being able to justify it. And we know this. And I go back to my Target runs when I think about this, because when we go to Target and we buy that super cute throw pillow, you buy it because you love it and you know how it's going to make your living room feel, but you justify that purchase because you just watched an episode of Joanna Gaines last week, and she said that throw pillows increase the cozy factor of your room by 30%. So you've got your logic and you've got your credibility right there, because Joanna Gaines is credible. Okay, so that's the logic that we need to make that emotional purchase. Does that make sense? All right. And then the last piece we already touched on is credibility. And that's just our ability to be believed. Do we do what we say we're going to do? A huge part of that is how we communicate and over deliver in our one area. Credibility is always demonstrated. It's not something that you can claim over yourself. It is always going to be earned. It's something that we should be constantly reinforcing with consistent messaging, niching, speaking our truth. Are you following through with what you say you're going to do? That is your credibility. Okay. Remember, which one of those is strongest? Emotional. Emotional is the strongest, but we have to have logic. We have to have credibility to back it up. All right. So if you're on my team and if you did book club with us with the Guide Culture book, you've probably already heard me share this before, but this next lens really has the potential to change the way that we look at every relationship moving forward, whether it's a sales conversation, whether it's a family member, whether it's an interaction that we're having at PTA. This lens is how we should look at every relationship and every interaction that we have moving forward. And that is, what's in it for me? And if you have a notebook out, I want you to write that down. What's in it for me? And I took this directly from Guide Culture. I'm citing my source here, but what's in it for me? Or if you want to think about it from someone you're having a conversation for me with they're thinking, what's in it for me? So what's in it for them? That's what everybody on planet Earth is thinking 100% of the time. What's in it for me? Gut health is important, but what does that mean to me? What is in it for me? Plexus balances blood sugar, but what does that mean for me? What's in it for me? Reset is clinically proven, but what's in it for me? What does that mean for me? Okay. If we can start to frame all of our conversations and interactions around just this one idea, it will radically change your relationships and your business, because everybody is thinking that subconsciously all the time. We're filtering who we want to follow, what information we're going to plug into what's in it for me. Does this have value for me? And if it doesn't, I'm out. Okay. I feel like that's like our primal survival instinct to always be thinking this way. How is it going to benefit me? Why do I need it? What is the cost benefit? So if we can help people tap into why they really need Plexus, we are going to serve them, y'all, on such a deeper level. Now, the good news is that there is a template for this. And y'all, I love a template. I love a rubric. I taught elementary school for 12 years, and a laid out lesson plan is just about as close to a love language as I can get. So that is what we're going to do. And again, I'm going to send all of this to you. So don't feel like you have to write all this down. I'll send all this to you, and you're going to have the lesson plan and everything you need. We're going to dive into what we call a confidence sequence. And again, this is coming directly from Guide Culture. I have not reinvented this wheel. This is proven facts for selling and finding the value in something. This is going to be the foundation of our conversation and sales skills from here on out. We're going to talk about a lot of other great things over the course of the next couple of weeks as we dig more into this. This is going to be our home base. This is our foundation. If you can master this one thing in your own personal confidence, it is going to skyrocket. Okay. Our confidence sequence is really built around value. Okay. You're always thinking, what is the value for them? What's in it for them? And specifically, what we're going to do, and this is going to seem a little bit counterintuitive, but we are going to narrow down to one value point at a time. It is so tempting, y'all. And I know, because I like to say all the things too. And I like to tell all of the things that I know about Triplex, all the ingredients, all the benefits, all the studies. It is so tempting to want to tell them everything that you know, but we are going to bring this down and boil this down to one single value point for people, because that's really all they need. And that's really all they can take in at a time. Okay. Can anybody else relate to sending like a 6-page spreadsheet and 26 links and an invite to 3 different pages when you first started plugging people in? I think we all have a tendency to want to do that. But if we can remember the lens, what's in it for them, let's focus it down to one value. And I want you to think about that through our processes and our systems as a team. And I know we have a couple of different teams here, but I feel like our processes and our systems are all very similar, right? What is the thing that we do when we plug somebody in, right? We plug them into our wellness page. And then what do we ask them? What are your top 3 health goals? Okay. We tag them in the pin post, tag them in some Triplex info. And then we ask them, what are the top 3 things you can relate to on the 3 pillars list? What are the top 3 things you're struggling with? Okay. And let's say they come back and they say sleep, metabolism, and energy. Okay. Sarah is struggling with sleep, metabolism, and energy. This is where you're going to tease out their why a little bit. Now, when they reply back with that, you're still going to tag them in 3 to 4 testimonies. You're going to tag them in a sleep testimony, a metabolism testimony, an energy testimony. Okay. Nothing is changing here, but let's ask them to go just a little bit deeper. This is where curiosity and listening comes in. Tell me a little bit more about how those things affect you on a day-to-day basis. How is lack of energy affecting you at home? Or how is sluggish metabolism affecting you in your daily life? My go-to phrase is becoming, tell me a little bit more about that. Because people love to talk about themselves. They want to share with you, especially if they think that you may have a solution that they need. Help them tease it out. Tell me a little bit more about that. And you'll be surprised at what comes out. Now, this is really going to allow us to get to the heart of what people really want. Because they may need energy, but what they really want is to be present with their children. They may need weight loss, but what they really want is to feel confident to connect with their husband again. So what you're looking for here is the heart, the real value that Plexus can offer to them. And I can tell you right now, just personally for myself, I didn't care as much about the clinical studies and the ingredients as much as I just freaking wanted to feel better when I started. I wanted to be a fun mom again. I wanted to put on a bathing suit without feeling 4 months pregnant because I was so bloated and constipated all the time. Like, real talk. That's what I really wanted. It was an emotional buy for me that was also backed up by my friend's credibility and the ingredients and the products, because those mattered to me, but it was an emotional decision for me. And that's how you buy, that's how I buy, and that's how everybody else buys. So now, are you going to run into people? Because I know we have some people on the call tonight who do tend to attract more science-minded, more ingredient-minded people. When you ask those questions, you're going to really get to the heart of like what it is that they want. And when you ask, well, tell me a little bit more about, what it is that you're looking for, and they come to you and they talk more about the ingredients and they talk about wanting a clean supplement, that's where you're going to understand where their value is, and you can take it from there. But asking them to tease this out is going to help you get to the heart of what it is that they really want. Okay. So once we know their real emotional desires, you are going to wrap up emotion, logic, and credibility into a pretty little package that we're going to call a confidence sequence. It's like a flower bouquet. Okay. We're going to wrap all 3 of those things into a few sentences in order to communicate the real value to that person. And in order to show you what this looks like, I'm going to use an example of Sarah. So let's say that I've been having a conversation with a mom, okay? And Sarah told me that she was struggling with anxiety. And I teased it out a little bit for her. And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about what that looks like. And Sarah told me that she wants to be more present with her kids. Okay, so I've gotten to the heart of what Sarah wants. And now I'm going to go through this confidence sequence. I'm going to give her the emotion, I'm going to give her the logic, and I'm going to come in with credibility to show her how Plexus is going to be the answer for her. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And this always throws me off for some reason. So let me just try to get myself together. This is the PDF that you're going to have, so you don't need to write this down. Okay. All right. Can y'all see that? The rainbow? Can y'all see the rainbow screen? Carlene, give me a thumbs up because I can only see your face. Kim, okay, I see you there. Okay. So this is the sequence that we're going to follow with someone once we know the heart of their issue. This is all going to be spoken at the same time. Okay. We're focusing on, like I said, the emotion, the logic, the credibility. We're taking all of those things, we're mashing it up into a couple of sentences, and we're going to deliver it to her all at once. All right. So we're going to start with truth. Okay. It sounds like we're leading with logic here, but we're going to circle back to the emotion. Okay. We're going to start with a truth, a fact or a feature. A truth is just something that can be proven in a court of law. Okay. It's undeniable. It can be an ingredient. It can be a feature. It can be a benefit. But it's something that can be proven in a court of law. Okay. I'm using the example of Triplex addresses gut health. Like, that's what it does. It can be proven in a court of law. It's just a fact. Okay. We want to make this as specific as we can. Okay. That's our truth. That's what we're going to start with. Triplex addresses gut health. Okay. Then we are going to break that down into layman's terms for Sarah, because likely Sarah is learning about gut health. Even if she has a little bit of background in this, she's done some research, she knows her stuff. We need to translate why Triplex addressing gut health, what that means for her. Because remember, she's already thinking, okay, what does this mean to me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? We're going to break this down into layman's terms. We're going to talk like we're talking to a 5-year-old, because we need to show them directly how this correlates to what their true desire is. We're going to break it in a way that they understand. So the bridge is how we're going to connect that logic piece, that truth, to her emotion, what it is that she's actually after. And I love this because, and this is a verbatim, like this is something you're actually going to physically say every time. And I'm going to tell her what this means for you, because she's already thinking it. She's already thinking, okay, well, what does this mean for me? So I'm just going to come out and tell her Triplex addresses gut health. And what that means for you is, you see how I'm just going to come out and I'm going to tell her, Sarah, this is what that means to you. Okay. I'm going to release this heavy burden of thinking. Like, you don't have to think. I'm going to think and tell you what this means for you. Does that make sense? So our truth is going to be a fact about our product. It could be pink drink contains chromium. It could be hydrate contains electrolytes. It could be any fact. And then we're going to connect it. Triplex addresses gut health. And what that means to you is we're building on each stage. Okay. The next stage is where we're going to put in the value. We're going to connect it back to Sarah's original problem. Okay. This is what you're really selling. This is what they really want. This is a real reason that they're buying. Okay. So to come back to our example, Triplex addresses gut health. And what that means for you is that you can work towards addressing your anxiety at a root level with a simple system. Okay. So we're hitting that initial desire of anxiety, gut health, what this means for you, hitting your anxiety. I'm connecting the truth and the value. Okay. The next part I'm going to move into is the real value. I'm going to move past that anxiety piece and I'm going to go into what Sarah really told me that she wanted, which was to be more present with her kids. Okay. So I'm layering. Triplex addresses gut health. And what that means for you is you can work towards addressing your anxiety at a root level with a simple system. And the real value is that you can start showing up at home and being more present with your kids. You are breaking this down for Sarah so that she is tracking with you every single step of the way. This is first grade. She understands that gut health directly correlates to anxiety, directly correlates to her being more present with her kids. You're laying this out in an organized presentation for her. Okay. After that, we know that what do we have to do? We've got her, we're emotionally connected now. What do we have to do? She has to justify it, right? We have to justify this logically. Okay, well, that's what I want, but what is actually going to make me pursue this? Okay, we're going to then bring in a piece of evidence. Okay, this is going to be a fact. This can be a statistic. It can be a testimony. It can be a before and after. It can be third-party validation, but you're going to bring in something that is not you as an expert that is going to kind of reinforce what you're saying. And I love this one. I use this one all the time with people. I think a lot of us do. I just read an article about the gut-brain connection that shared that 80 to 90% of our serotonin, our happy hormone, is actually manufactured in your gut. And if you struggle with GI issues and discomfort, you also likely struggle with stress and anxiety. They go hand in hand. So I've just reinforced myself. I've just given third-party validation. I've added in a statistical fact, like a piece of evidence that supports what I'm telling Sarah. Okay. So we've gone from our truth to our bridge, what that means for you. We've showed her what the value is for her. I'm showing her the evidence that this is why it is the way that it is. And now we're going to come into agreement. We're going to close out this confidence sequence. We're going to come into agreement together. This is kind of like the close of our argument, or not our argument, but our conversation. It shows that, hey, I've been listening to you. This is what you want. This is why you need it. And I'm going to bring everything together for you wrapped in a bow. Okay. we're going to wrap this up with a question that's going to elicit a response from her that's going to take us to the next step and direct us where we're going to go next. Being present with your kids is what you're after, right? So we go through all of those steps. We say all of that together. And at the end, we ask her a question. Sarah, I listened to you. I heard what you said. I heard you say that the value you were after was being more present with your kids. Being more present with your kids is what you're after, right? And at that point, Sarah is going to engage with you. And she's either going to say, absolutely, that's what I'm after. And that's going to lead you to where you go next. And you can ask her, awesome. What are your thoughts about moving forward? Or does this sound like something you'd want to move forward with today or next week when we start our next challenge? At this point, you're just coming into agreement with together. You have laid out an organized presentation for her, and she gets to make a decision. As she brings objections at that point, then you can kind of handle the objections, but you have made your case that this is what she needs. Does that make sense? So all together, this is what it's going to sound like. Okay. I've talked to Sarah. I've gotten to the heart of what she needs. And then this is how it's going to sound all together. Sarah, Triplex addresses gut health. And what that means for you is that you can work towards healing your anxiety at a root level with a simple system. And the real value is that you can start showing up at home and being more present with your kids. I just read an article about the gut-brain connection that shared that 80 to 90% of our serotonin, our happy hormone, is actually manufactured in your gut. And if you struggle with GI issues and discomfort, you also likely struggle with stress and anxiety. They go hand in hand. I'm hearing you say that being more present with your kids is what you're after, right? Did y'all hear, like, we had the emotion, we had the logic, we had the whole case made out right there for Sarah. And now we get to come into agreement together, and she gets to decide, did I meet her where she is? And now we can go from here. The confidence sequence is really about seeing your person and getting that agreement in this for them. And honestly, I'm going to stop my share because it really distracts me. And honestly, as you're thinking about this and thinking through this process, you really want to think about, how can I communicate this in as few words as possible? Because, when I really first started practicing this, I wanted to say more. I felt like I needed to do more convincing, and I needed to add more facts, and I needed to tell her more about the gut-brain connection, and I needed to tell her more about the strands in ProBio 5 and more about the strands in Vital Biome. But really, what we're doing is getting to the value. That's what we're hitting on. As few words as we can and as many as we must. Always be thinking about, how can I make this more succinct to meet them where we are? And this is how we're going to think about every conversation from here on out. What's in it for them? What's in it for them? What's the value they want? And how can I show them that we have what they need? All right, I do have a little bit more on that. I know that was a lot. Who wants to unmute and ask a question about confidence sequence or anything that was just said? Or if you're on overload like I was when I first heard this the first time, that's okay too. Let me look at the chat. Kim, you're so right. We sell people on the products, not on the products, but what the products do for them. Can I trust her? Can she help me? So good. Lacey loves the facts, but not everyone is the same. I feel like we all love facts. Whether, some of us are more heavy on emotion than others. We all love facts. We all have to justify that purchase by a fact. But really, we're emotional people. It's the experience they're looking for. Definitely have to practice putting it together, but it was very helpful. Absolutely. This is something that we are continuing to practice in our Guide Culture labs. We actually have, with this paid course, we have weekly 2-hour labs where we practice this in real time in front of 7 or 8 other people in our lab. And we're just practicing this over and over again. And that's one of the things that I want to challenge y'all to do this week. I'm going to send y'all the one that we just did here. And I actually have 3 or 4 other confidence sequences just on common things that we get, like actual gut health, like with diarrhea. I have one on anxiety. There's one I can't remember which other ones I've done, but I've done 4 or 5 that are already kind of done for you that you can literally just start practicing and getting in the habit of. And the one thing I want to challenge you to do this week, because we don't, we're not doing the labs here, is practice sending those voice messages to yourself. Does anybody else do that? Do you ever practice sending voice messages to yourself, either on Facebook Messenger or even in text? So y'all are shaking your head and looking at me like I'm crazy. I love to do that. When I started this, I didn't know how to send a voice message. I would practice on myself, and I would listen to my inflection. I would listen to how I sounded. And it really is a helpful tool. So I want to encourage y'all that when y'all get these PDFs, take 1 or 2 of these confidence sequences this week and just run through them. Just practice them verbatim. And then once you kind of get the language, make it sound like you. Make it sound like you, but make sure you hit all the points. Okay? Can we do that? And then maybe next week, we're going to have a couple of people share doing their confidence sequence. Maybe we'll do that. That could be fun. All right. I have a couple of other things to share, and then I think we'll probably wrap it up because it's 9:12. One of the things I also want us to just really focus on this week is focus on those nonverbal cues. And you can do this in your voice messages. Remember that 93% of what we say is unspoken. Be enthusiastic about what you do. Be excited about what this is going to do for your people. And I think one of the things that we all need to do, and this was a habit that I had to break, is get out of the habit of thanking someone for buying for us, or thanking them for buying from us. And y'all, I am so thankful for my customers. Absolutely, yes. But we need to get in the habit of being more excited about what this is going to do for them than being thankful for them supporting our small business. And they need to hear that, y'all. They need to hear that. I want you to think about going to a Pampered Chef party and buying a $40 knife at an online party, because we've all done it. And after your purchase, what is going to make you feel better about that purchase? Somebody sending you a written letter or a written text message that says, "Thank you so much for supporting my small business tonight," or getting a voice message that says, "Oh my gosh, Katie, I am so excited for you to get your new knife. It is going to cut down your prep time and make cooking dinner for you so much easier with your kids." Like, I'm going to be more excited about my knife now because she's bringing value to me and showing me how it's going to help me. So we want to get people excited about the value that we're giving them, not making it feel just like a transaction. And Bob Heilig talks a lot about this in his transformation versus transaction course. And that's really what the confidence sequence is all about. It's helping people understand the massive amount of value that Plexus is going to bring into their life and making them excited about it. And confidence sequence is really our home base. I will say it may not even always be necessary. If somebody is ready to order, like if somebody says, "Hey, Rebecca, I'm ready to order, send me the ordering information," you don't need to go through this whole sequence. I'm going to encourage you to still get to the heart of what it is that they want and what it is that they need, so that when you follow up with them, you're able to hit that heart and you're able to talk them through that. This is simply how you're going to guide your conversations from here on out. This is our new system. It is all about them. It is all about loving them and creating an organized presentation that doesn't require them to do the heavy lifting. It doesn't require them to jump through rabbit holes and research, because the only thing they're thinking about is, what's in it for me? Will it help me? Focus on that, answer those questions, and get better at it day after day. And practice your confidence sequences. I promise. Lab has been the most valuable part of this whole course that I'm taking. Just being able to go through this verbiage, go through these cycles, and really just gain confidence in what it is that I'm sharing. I've learned a lot more about our products too. And honestly, it takes the pressure off of me feeling like I need to be a nurse or a scientist or a guru to learn all, to be able to have conversations with people. You really just need key pieces and key facts to be able to direct people. Any questions? Any comments? Any thoughts on this? I know it's a lot. It's just a lot of information. But the more we talk about it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it, and the more it's going to feel good. Because I will say, like, the language of it, I was like, this doesn't really sound like me. Like, I don't know that I would actually talk like that in real life, but once you play with it and once you put your inflection on it and you kind of tweak the wording a little bit to sound like you, it really can. It's all about your confidence. It's all about how you speak it and how you say it to people. So just trust the process, trust the wording. It works. It works. Patty loves it. This is so helpful. The real truth is like figuring out their problem, and your sequence is solving it at the end. That's all this is problem solving and showing them the real value. How is this gonna help you? All right, y'all. I will send, let's see, I probably won't put the confidence sequences in the team page. Kim, I'll send them to you to send to your team. And then Rebecca Peterson, I'll send it to you so you can drop it in Noelle's chat too. All right, y'all. Well, if you want to practice your confidence sequence on me this week, feel free. Just drop me a message. It'll be fun. All right, y'all. Well, we'll see ya. We'll probably do, Rebecca twisted my arm. We'll probably do part 2 next week. So y'all get ready. Y'all be practicing this week and we'll layer onto it and add to it next week.
It was great seeing you ladies.
Oh, you too, Patty. I
miss you guys.
Who all here is going to convention? I need to get my booty and gear for convention and like.
It's like 45 miles.
Is that Shanta's hand up there in the corner?
I can't wait to hug all of you.
It cannot come.
Oh my gosh.
It can't come fast enough.
I know it. I agree.
Jill and I are going. We booked a hotel. I don't know who else is.
Where are y'all staying, Kim?
I reached out to Stephanie.
I'm going with you.
Huh?
I'm going with you.
Are you? Well, you can.
Because we're roommates. We've been roommates every episode, everything we've done.
Yes. Yeah.
Kidding.
Hopefully. I think I'm staying I had reached out to Stephanie Shaughnessy because I was like, wherever you're staying is where I need to stay. Cause y'all seem to always know where, like last year, I wish I would have been right on site like she was, but that one was booked. So I got one that's like right across the street. I think it's the Westin.
Yeah.
I think it's
that one's really close. I think all of them this year are a lot closer walking distance than they were in Ohio, in the farm country.
Yeah.
Of Ohio.
Right.
So I came down to my office to try to find, my whole office is empty because of the mold. So like everything got sold. Our whole downstairs is empty. I'm trying to find my guide culture book because I know that I left it in here because I still use it a lot. But I was going to echo the confidence sequence. My team knows I've actually filmed mine and put it on Instagram in a reel. And it's crazy because it's so second nature that it literally comes through now in every single message with every single client. It doesn't matter what they're coming in with. It always gets brought back to the same confidence sequence. And what you said about learning more about the products, it's allowed me to be more compliant because it actually, like I looked up the triplex info sheets and things and was like, oh, like there's a part that says like we have trillions of bacteria inside of our gut that largely contribute to how good we feel both inside and out on a daily basis. So my confidence sequence started with like, did you know that we have trillions of bacteria inside of our gut that largely contribute to how you feel both inside and out on a daily basis? And literally in every message now, I say that. And then my confidence sequence was very specific to Candida yeast overgrowth. No surprise there. But like it felt painful for weeks. And my team, most of them will feel the same way because what you said about feeling like you just have to have all these more words. We're so used to feeling like the more words that are there, the more someone's going to be convinced that this is what like they should do. We're very opposite. Often it's the opposite. We're word vomiting instead of, so guide culture taught me like a little bite at a time and then a bite. And gosh, can you imagine, because you're so concise, like how painful that this process was? Like, I didn't think I was going to make it through guide culture. And like, so I'm such a word processor and such a verbal processor. So it was very difficult. Like I would say guide culture is one of the most difficult things that I've done. And I'm about to join Academy in April to start going through it again and do more labs again, because you have to, I told Shelly, she was my coach and a guide culture, that you have got to keep practicing it. Like, because everything, like my whole life, like 30 something years, I've been doing it this way all day, every day, so but it benefits you not just in the business, but in every other area of your life, with your kids, with your husband. Like if you can learn to listen more, if you can learn to like, oh, really? And how do you feel about that? Like, it's crazy. Like they're all about how these are not sales skills, are life skills. And it really is like life skills,
I know, I find myself saying it to my kids. Let's go to bed an hour earlier. And what the real value for you is that we can go get muffins in the morning.
I say it almost every time. I'm like, what that means for you is because that's what people want to know. What does it mean?
Want to
What does it
know.
mean?
That's one of the things that really made a lot of sense to me is that like our brains are on overload all the time. Like how many tabs do we have open right now? Like we can't even process. We can't even process. This literally like it takes them by the hand like a kindergartner and it's like, let me show you what this is going to do for you. You don't need to go Google Candida. You don't need to go like read an article. Let me just tell you exactly what you need to know. That's what people want. That's what I want. That's what I want. I wanted Trisha Cooper to tell me this was going to help me with my constipation and bloating. And she told me, and she was credible, and it was done. It was done. You know, that's what people want. So awesome. Well, thank y'all for being on. This was fun. This was fun. And we'll come back for round 2 next week.
Thanks,
Sounds
fellas.
great. Thanks, guys.
All right. Night,
Good night.
everybody.
See ya.